Have you ever found yourself nodding along in a conversation, pretending to understand every word while your brain desperately tries to catch up? Or maybe you've watched English movies with subtitles for years, but still feel lost when the subtitles are removed. If so, you're not alone. The journey from hearing English to truly understanding it can seem like an impossible mountain to climb. But what if I told you that in just 10 days, you could transform your relationship with the English language? What if the barrier between you and fluent comprehension isn't about vocabulary or grammar, but simply about training your ear to recognize the sounds, rhythms, and patterns that native speakers take for granted? Welcome to LMJ English, where we believe that listening is the hidden key to language mastery. I'm thrilled to have you join me on this incredible 10-day journey. Train your ear, the listening revolution. This isn't just another English course, it's a systematic approach to rewiring how your brain processes English sounds, unlocking a level of comprehension you may have thought was beyond your reach. Before we begin this transformative adventure together, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. This way, you won't miss any of our daily training sessions designed to revolutionize your English listening skills one day at a time. Are you ready to train your ear and join the listening revolution? Let's get started on day 1, where we'll build the foundation for your listening transformation. Day 1, the listening foundation. Imagine your brain as a sophisticated music recording studio. Every day it processes thousands of sounds, filtering out background noise and focusing on meaningful signals. When it comes to your native language, this process happens effortlessly. Your brain knows exactly which sounds matter and how they fit together. But when you encounter a foreign language like English, suddenly your mental recording studio struggles to identify which sounds are important and how they connect. This is why the first day of our listening revolution focuses on understanding how your ears and brain work together in language processing. The human ear is remarkably sensitive, capable of distinguishing minute differences in sound that can completely change the meaning of words. However, this natural ability must be calibrated specifically for English if you want to achieve true comprehension. The fundamental difference between merely hearing English and actively listening to it lies in attention and intention. When you simply hear English, you're passively allowing sound waves to enter your ears. Active listening, on the other hand, engages your brain in the process of decoding those sounds into meaningful language. It's like the difference between glancing at a painting and studying it closely to understand the artist's technique and message. Creating the optimal environment for active listening is crucial to your success in this program. Find a quiet space where you can focus without distractions. Quality headphones can make a significant difference as they deliver sound directly to your ears, making it easier to catch subtle nuances. Your physical comfort matters too. Tension in your body can translate to tension in your listening, so adopt a relaxed but alert posture. Equally important is your mental environment. Approach each listening session with curiosity rather than frustration. Be patient with yourself. Your brain is literally forming new neural pathways as you train your ear. Set realistic expectations. Comprehension won't happen overnight, but incremental progress will accumulate rapidly over these 10 days. For today's practical exercise, we'll start with simple dialogues featuring clear, standard pronunciation. These conversations have been specifically designed to introduce your ear to the core sounds of English without overwhelming it. Listen to each dialogue 3 times. First, simply let the sounds wash over you. Second, try to identify individual words you recognize. Third, focus on the overall melody and rhythm of the speech. Pay particular attention to how English speakers connect their words in natural speech. Unlike your textbooks, which present words as separate units, real English flows together with certain sounds blending, disappearing, or transforming when they meet. This phenomenon, called connected speech, is essential to understand if you want to comprehend natural English. As you complete today's listening exercises, remember that you're laying the groundwork for all that follows. You're not just listening to English, you're beginning to retrain how your brain processes an entirely different sound system. The progress might feel subtle today, but you're establishing the neural pathways that will support increasingly complex listening skills in the days ahead. Your listening foundation isn't just about the mechanical process of hearing, It's about developing a relationship with English sounds. By the end of today, you should feel more attuned to the general flow of English speech, more aware of how words connect, and more comfortable with the process of active listening. This foundation will support everything we build together over the next 9 days of our listening revolution. Day 2. Sound recognition. Have you ever noticed how English sometimes sounds like one continuous flow rather than distinct words? This is because recognizing where one word ends and another begins relies on your ability to identify specific sound patterns. Today, we dive into the fascinating world of English phonetics, the building blocks of listening comprehension. English contains approximately 44 distinct sounds, many of which may not exist in your native language. Your brain, wonderfully adaptable as it is, tries to match English sounds to the closest equivalents in your mother tongue. This natural tendency is precisely what we need to overcome. Instead of hearing English through the filter of your native language, you must train your ear to recognize English sounds on their own terms. Minimal pairs are the secret weapon in this training. These are word pairs that differ by just one sound, such as ship and sheep, bet and bat, or thin and tin. The tiny distinction between these words can completely change their meaning, yet many English learners struggle to both hear and produce these differences. Today's exercises focus intensively on these critical sound distinctions. For vowel sounds, English presents a particular challenge. Many languages have just 5 or 6 vowel sounds, while English has around 20 distinct vowel sounds. The difference between sit, seat, set, and sat may seem subtle to your untrained ear, but mastering these distinctions is essential for understanding natural speech. We'll practice identifying these sounds in isolation first, then in words, and finally in flowing sentences. Consonant clusters present another challenge. Words like strengths or phrases like 6th Street combine multiple consonants in ways that may feel unnatural to speakers of many other languages. Rather than avoiding these difficult combinations, we'll specifically target them in today's practice. By facing these challenges directly, you train your ear to recognize patterns that previously might have sounded like unintelligible noise. The position of sounds within words also affects how we hear them. An English P at the beginning of a word has a small puff of air aspiration that a P at the end of a word doesn't have. These subtle distinctions occur throughout English, and today's exercises will help you become aware of how sound position influences pronunciation and recognition. For today's practical application, you'll engage in sound discrimination exercises. You'll hear pairs of words and identify whether they're the same or different. Then you'll progress to identifying specific words within minimal pair sets. Finally, you'll practice recognizing these critical sound distinctions within the context of natural sentences. Technology can be particularly helpful for sound recognition training. Speech visualization tools can show you the sound waves and patterns of difficult pronunciations, giving you visual feedback to complement what your ears are learning. Consider recording yourself repeating what you hear and comparing it to the original. This multi-sensory approach accelerates your progress. Remember, today isn't about perfectly reproducing these sounds yourself, though that will come with practice. It's about training your ear to recognize these distinctions when others speak. This recognition is the foundation of comprehension. When your brain can accurately parse the sound stream of English into its component parts, understanding will follow naturally. By the end of today, you should feel more confident in your ability to distinguish between similar English sounds. You may notice yourself becoming more aware of sound patterns you previously missed. This growing awareness is a sign that your ear is being trained. Your perception of English is becoming more precise. Tomorrow we'll build on this foundation by exploring the musicality of English through rhythm and intonation. Day 3. Rhythm and intonation. Close your eyes for a moment and listen to the rain falling outside your window. Notice how it creates patterns, sometimes steady, sometimes with unexpected bursts of intensity. English speech follows similar patterns of rhythm and intonation, creating what linguists often call the music of language. Today we focus on this musical quality that gives English its distinctive sound and carries crucial meaning beyond the words themselves. Unlike many languages that give relatively equal emphasis to each syllable, English is a stress-timed language. This means certain syllables receive stronger emphasis, creating a rhythmic pattern similar to Morse code, dots and dashes, with stressed syllables lasting longer than unstressed ones. Listen to this sentence. The doctor will see you tomorrow. The capitalized syllables carry the stress, creating the distinctive rhythm of English. This stress pattern is not random. It follows rules that your ear must learn to recognize. In most English words, one syllable receives primary stress: confident, important, opportunity. When words combine into sentences, some word stresses become more prominent than others, usually highlighting the words that carry the most important information. Understanding this system of prominence helps you identify key information, even when you don't catch every word. Equally important is understanding how English reduces unstressed syllables. Native speakers often shrink, blur, or almost eliminate syllables that don't carry stress, which is why words like comfortable often sound more like comfortable in natural speech. Today's exercises will help you recognize these reduced forms, rather than searching in vain for the clear textbook pronunciations you might expect. Intonation, the rise and fall of pitch in speech, adds another layer of musicality to English. It serves crucial functions, indicating whether a sentence is a statement, question, or command, expressing emotions and attitudes, highlighting important information, and signaling when speakers are finishing their turn or continuing. The same exact words can convey completely different meanings, depending on intonation patterns. Consider the phrase, "That's interesting." Said with a rising, falling intonation and emphasis on in, it expresses genuine interest, but with a flat or falling intonation, it might convey boredom or skepticism. These subtle differences aren't typically taught in English classes, yet they carry significant meaning in real conversations. The physical sensation of rhythm can be a powerful learning tool. Today, we'll practice tapping out the stress patterns of English phrases, literally feeling the rhythm. We'll also use exaggerated intonation exercises, where you dramatically amplify the pitch changes of English to help your ear become sensitive to these patterns. Think of it as training wheels that will eventually lead to natural recognition. For today's practical application, you'll listen to dialogues with particularly clear rhythm and intonation patterns. First, focus solely on identifying stressed words without worrying about meaning. Then try to determine the speaker's attitudes and intentions based on their intonation. Finally, practice mimicking both the rhythm and pitch patterns, even if you don't understand every word. This physical practice helps train both your ear and speech muscles. Many English learners focus exclusively on vocabulary and grammar, neglecting the crucial musical elements of the language. Yet research shows that errors in rhythm and intonation actually impair comprehension more severely than pronunciation errors of individual sounds. By developing sensitivity to these patterns, you're addressing one of the most significant barriers to listening comprehension. By the end of today, you should feel more attuned to the musical quality of English speech. You'll likely notice yourself paying attention to which words speakers emphasize and how their voices rise and fall. This growing awareness represents significant progress in your listening skills. Tomorrow, we'll harness this newfound sensitivity as we explore the powerful shadowing technique. Day 4. The shadowing technique. Imagine you're dancing with a partner who knows the routine perfectly. At first, you might stumble trying to follow their movements, but gradually, by mirroring their every step, you begin to feel the rhythm in your own body. This is essentially what shadowing does for your language learning. It turns passive listening into an active physical experience that trains both your ear and your speech mechanisms simultaneously. The shadowing technique, popularized by polyglot Alexander Arguelles, involves listening to native speech and repeating it immediately, like an echo, with as little delay as possible. Unlike simple repetition drills where you listen, pause, and then speak, shadowing creates a more challenging mental task. You must listen and speak concurrently, pushing your brain to process language in real time. What makes shadowing so powerful is how it engages multiple learning systems at once. As you shadow, your auditory system works to distinguish sounds, your brain processes meaning, your memory stores patterns, and your speech muscles practice the physical movements of English pronunciation. This multisensory experience creates stronger neural connections than passive listening alone. To begin shadowing effectively, choose material slightly below your current comprehension level. You should understand about 80 to 90% of the content, allowing you to focus on the shadowing process itself rather than struggling with vocabulary. Short dialogues or monologues of 1 to 2 minutes work best for beginners to this technique. Audiobooks with accompanying text can be excellent resources as you progress. Your first shadowing attempts might feel awkward or even impossible. Many learners report feeling overwhelmed when trying to listen and speak simultaneously. This is completely normal. You're asking your brain to develop a new skill. Start by shadowing at a whisper, gradually increasing your volume as you become more comfortable with the process. Focus on matching the rhythm and intonation patterns we explored yesterday, even if you miss some words. For today's practical exercises, we'll use a progressive shadowing approach with 4 stages. First, you'll listen to a short dialogue without shadowing, simply absorbing the content. Next, you'll shadow with the transcript in front of you using visual support. Then, you'll shadow without the transcript, relying solely on your ear. Finally, you'll record yourself shadowing and compare your speech to the original, noting differences in rhythm, intonation, and pronunciation. As you practice, pay special attention to connected speech phenomena, how words blend together in natural English. Notice how did you often sounds like did you, or how going to becomes gonna. By shadowing these natural speech patterns, rather than the careful separated words of classroom English, you train your ear to recognize language as it's actually spoken. The physical aspect of shadowing shouldn't be underestimated. Some polyglots recommend walking briskly while shadowing, as the physical movement seems to help the brain process language more effectively. Others suggest using hand gestures that match the rhythm of speech. Experiment with these variations to find what works best for your learning style. Consistency is crucial with shadowing. 10 minutes daily will yield better results than an hour once a week. The technique works by gradually rewiring your neural pathways, and this happens through regular, focused practice. Consider incorporating shadowing into daily activities, perhaps while walking your dog or doing household chores. By the end of today, you might feel mentally fatigued. Shadowing is an intense cognitive workout. However, you should also notice increased sensitivity to the flow of English speech, and possibly even improvements in your own pronunciation. Your brain is forming new connections between what you hear and how you speak, connections that will strengthen your overall comprehension. Tomorrow we'll explore another powerful technique, dictation, which connects listening skills with written language. Day 5, Dictation Mastery. There's something almost magical about the moment when a stream of sounds transforms into words on paper. Dictation, the practice of writing down exactly what you hear, creates this transformation, building a crucial bridge between the listening and writing systems of your brain. Today, we explore how this centuries-old technique remains one of the most effective methods for training your ear to capture the details of spoken English. Dictation works by forcing your brain to process language with extreme precision. When you're simply listening for general understanding, your brain can often fill in gaps with context clues or ignore details it doesn't quite catch. But dictation demands complete accuracy. Every word, every grammatical ending, every contraction must be captured correctly. This level of attentive listening develops neural pathways that strengthen your overall comprehension ability. The connection between listening and spelling in English presents unique challenges. Unlike many languages where words are spelled exactly as they sound, English has complex spelling patterns that don't always match pronunciation. The words through, tough, though, and thought all contain oof, but pronounce it differently. Dictation helps you associate these spelling patterns with their sounds, improving both your listening accuracy and your spelling simultaneously. For today's practice, we'll use a progressive dictation approach with 4 difficulty levels. We begin with word-level dictation, where you write individual words with clear pronunciation and pauses between them. Next, we progress to phrase-level dictation, capturing natural word groupings. Then we move to sentence-level work with natural speech speed, but clear articulation. Finally, we tackle paragraph-level dictation with authentic speech, including reduced forms and connected speech patterns. The most effective dictation practice includes immediate self-correction. After completing each dictation exercise, compare your written version with the original text, noting any discrepancies. Pay particular attention to patterns in your errors. Do you consistently miss certain sounds, grammatical endings, or contractions? These patterns reveal specific areas where your ear needs additional training. Short, frequent dictation sessions yield better results than marathon practices. Your brain's ability to maintain focused attention on speech sounds diminishes after about 10 to 15 minutes, so plan several brief sessions throughout the day. Vary the speakers you listen to as well, incorporating different accents, speech rates, and vocal qualities to develop flexibility in your listening skills. Dictation also offers valuable insights into the differences between written and spoken English. You'll notice that transcripts of natural speech often contain sentence fragments, repetitions, fillers like and you know, and simpler vocabulary than formal written English. This awareness helps you adjust your expectations when listening to spontaneous speech rather than scripted content. Technology has transformed how we can practice dictation. Applications that allow you to slow down audio without changing pitch make difficult content more accessible. Voice recognition software can provide immediate feedback on your own pronunciation by displaying what the computer hears when you speak. Specialized dictation practice platforms can track your progress over time, adapting to your improving skill level. For today's advanced challenge, try partial dictation, exercises where you receive a transcript with certain words missing and must fill in the blanks while listening. This targeted approach allows you to focus on specific challenges like function words, the of to, which are often reduced in natural speech, or content words carrying key information. By the end of today, you should feel more confident in your ability to capture English speech in written form. You'll likely notice increased sensitivity to details you previously missed, the subtle S of plurals, the ed endings of past tense verbs, the precise wording of phrasal verbs. This precision in listening will serve you well as we move tomorrow into working with more challenging, authentic materials. Day 6. Real-world listening. The controlled environment of language learning materials, with their clear pronunciation, careful pacing, and simplified vocabulary, bears little resemblance to the wild terrain of authentic English. Today marks a pivotal shift in our listening revolution as we venture into the real world of natural, unscripted English speech with all its beautiful messiness and variation. Real-world English differs from educational materials in fundamental ways. Native speakers don't articulate every sound perfectly. They speak in bursts of words rather than careful sentences. They use idioms, slang, and cultural references. They interrupt themselves and each other. They leave thoughts unfinished. These features aren't flaws. They're the natural characteristics of authentic communication that your ear must learn to navigate. The greatest challenge for many English learners is the sheer variety of accents. English is spoken as a first, second, or official language in over 70 countries, each with distinctive pronunciation patterns. Even within countries like the United States or the United Kingdom, regional accents vary dramatically. Rather than being overwhelmed by this diversity, today we'll develop strategies to build accent flexibility, the ability to understand different ways of pronouncing the same language. Begin by identifying the accent most relevant to your needs. If you're preparing to study in Australia, prioritize Australian English. If you'll be working with colleagues from India, focus on Indian English patterns. However, don't limit yourself entirely. Developing flexibility across accents strengthens your overall listening ability, much as cross-training benefits athletes even in their primary sport. Another real-world challenge is the natural speed of English conversation. Native speakers typically produce 150–180 words per minute, far faster than the careful pace of language learning materials. Rather than asking speakers to slow down, which changes their natural rhythm, develop strategies for processing faster speech. These include focusing on stressed words, which carry key information, using context to fill gaps, and recognizing reduced forms common in rapid speech. Colloquialisms, idioms, and slang present another layer of difficulty. When a native speaker says they're beat, exhausted, crashed, slept, or something was a piece of cake, easy. The literal meanings won't help you. Today's exercises include exposure to common idiomatic expressions in context, training your ear to recognize when literal interpretation doesn't make sense, and to derive meaning from the surrounding conversation. For today's practical application, We'll use podcasts and interview segments as our primary materials. Unlike scripted content, these feature natural hesitations, overlapping speech, and authentic reactions. Begin with topics you're already familiar with. This background knowledge provides context that supports your comprehension even when you miss certain words or phrases. A powerful technique for working with authentic materials is the narrow listening approach developed by linguist Stephen Krashen. This involves listening repeatedly to the same short content about a familiar topic, focusing on different aspects with each repetition. First, listen for general meaning, then for specific details, then for the language features we've practiced in previous days, like connected speech patterns, stress, and intonation. Social media platforms provide a wealth of short, authentic listening opportunities. Platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube feature brief clips with visual context that supports comprehension. The comment sections often include quotations or discussions of what was said, providing helpful confirmation of what you heard. These short formats allow you to practice intensively with manageable chunks of authentic speech. One of the most valuable strategies for real-world listening is developing tolerance for ambiguity. Native speakers often understand the general message without catching every word, using context and probability to fill gaps. Today, practice being comfortable with partial understanding. Focus on what you do comprehend, rather than becoming frustrated by what you miss. This psychological shift alone can dramatically improve your listening experience. By the end of today, you might feel somewhat overwhelmed by the complexity of authentic English. This is a natural response to the transition from simplified to real-world materials. However, you should also notice moments of surprising clarity, instances where your trained ear successfully navigates features of natural speech that would have been incomprehensible just days ago. Tomorrow, we'll explore how visual support can further enhance your comprehension as you continue working with authentic materials. Day 7. Visual Support and Multimedia. The human brain is wired to integrate information from multiple senses, particularly sight and sound. Today, we harness this natural tendency by exploring how visual cues dramatically enhance listening comprehension. By systematically combining visual and auditory input, we can accelerate your ability to understand spoken English in all its complexity. Visual context provides powerful support for listening comprehension in several ways. First, it establishes the setting and participants, answering the crucial questions of who, where, and what general activity is occurring. This contextual framework helps your brain predict likely topics and vocabulary, making it easier to process the incoming speech. Second, visual cues like facial expressions, gestures, and body language often communicate emotions and intentions that complement or clarify the spoken message. Research in cognitive science has demonstrated that multimodal learning, combining different sensory inputs, creates stronger neural connections than single-mode learning. When you simultaneously see and hear information, your brain forms multiple pathways to the same knowledge, enhancing both comprehension and retention. This is why today's approach leverages multimedia resources to strengthen your listening skills. For today's practice, we'll work with video materials that offer rich visual context. Begin with content where the visuals directly support the speech. Cooking demonstrations, travel videos, or how-to guides where actions directly illustrate the narration. These direct visual-verbal connections provide maximum support for your developing listening skills. Subtitles represent one of the most powerful tools for listening development, but their effectiveness depends on how you use them. We'll practice a three-stage approach to subtitle use. First, watch with subtitles in your native language to establish basic comprehension. Next, switch to English subtitles, connecting the written and spoken forms of the language. Finally, remove subtitles entirely, using only the visual context and your trained ear to understand the content. The progressive removal of visual support is a key strategy in today's training. Start with maximum support. Video with clear visuals and subtitles. Gradually reduce this support by watching the same content first with subtitles, then without. First with clear visuals, then with only audio. This scaffold approach builds confidence while systematically challenging your listening skills to function more independently. Pay particular attention to non-verbal communication in today's video materials. Notice how native speakers use facial expressions, hand gestures, and body posture to emphasize important points, express emotions, or indicate turn-taking in conversations. These visual cues provide valuable context for understanding the emotional and pragmatic aspects of communication that go beyond the literal meanings of words. For more advanced practice, explore materials where the relationship between visuals and speech is more abstract or complementary rather than direct. News broadcasts, documentaries, and interview programs often feature speech about topics not directly visible on screen. These materials challenge you to use partial visual cues alongside context and prior knowledge to support your comprehension. 1. Particularly effective technique we'll practice today is called visual anchoring, the practice of associating specific vocabulary, phrases, or concepts with memorable images. When you create strong mental connections between language and visuals, your brain forms stronger memory traces that support both recognition and recall. This technique is especially helpful for idiomatic expressions whose meanings can't be derived from their individual words. By the end of today, you should feel more confident in your ability to leverage visual information to support your listening comprehension. You'll likely notice yourself becoming more strategic in how you use subtitles and visual cues when watching English content. This visual scaffolding provides a bridge to the more advanced listening strategies we'll explore tomorrow, where we focus on active, strategic approaches to listening challenges. Day 8. Active listening strategies. Imagine you're an investigator piecing together clues to solve a mystery. Each word, each intonation pattern, each contextual reference provides evidence that helps you construct meaning. This investigative mindset lies at the heart of active listening strategies, the systematic approaches that transform listening from a passive experience into an engaged, analytical process. Today, we explore powerful techniques that put you in control of your comprehension. The most transformative strategy we'll master today is the 3-1-1 method. This precise, structured approach involves listening to the same content 3 times with different focuses, writing down your understanding once, and then listening a final time to confirm your comprehension. During the first listening, focus on capturing the general meaning and context. In the second round, target specific details and information gaps. For the third listening, pay attention to nuances like speaker attitude and implicit messages. This methodical approach transforms overwhelming content into manageable incremental challenges. Note-taking while listening represents another powerful active strategy, but effective notes for listening differ from those you might take while reading. When listening, you don't have time to write complete sentences or capture everything. Instead, we'll practice creating visual note systems using symbols, abbreviations, and spatial organization to rapidly capture key information without losing focus on the ongoing speech. These notes serve not as a transcript, but as comprehension scaffolding, support structures for your understanding. Prediction stands among the most powerful cognitive tools for listening comprehension. Your brain naturally tries to anticipate what comes next in any pattern, and we can harness this tendency deliberately. Before listening to content, review any available information, titles, descriptions, images, and make conscious predictions about vocabulary, topics, and perspectives you might encounter. During listening, continuously update these predictions based on what you hear. This active prediction engages your brain deeply with the content, enhancing attention and comprehension. The technique of mental questioning further activates your listening. Rather than passively receiving information, formulate specific questions as you listen. What is the speaker's main point? What evidence supports this claim? How does this connect to what was said earlier? This questioning stance keeps your mind engaged and helps you identify the organizational structure of what you're hearing, making it easier to follow complex explanations or arguments. For today's practical application, we'll work with challenging academic and professional content, lecture excerpts, business presentations, and podcast discussions on specialized topics. These materials feature complex vocabulary, abstract concepts, and sophisticated organizational structures that demand active listening strategies. We'll apply different combinations of techniques to each piece, evaluating which strategies work best for different listening situations. Interactive listening adds another dimension to active comprehension. While you can't interrupt a recorded speaker to ask for clarification, you can engage in internal dialogue with the content. Mentally, agreeing, questioning, connecting to your prior knowledge or identifying points of confusion. This internal conversation maintains your intellectual engagement with the material in a way that passive reception cannot. An advanced metacognitive strategy we'll explore today involves monitoring your own comprehension in real time. Practice. Periodically checking your understanding as you listen. Am I following this? What's unclear to me right now? What context clues might help me figure this out? This self-monitoring helps you identify exactly where comprehension breaks down, allowing for more targeted improvement efforts rather than general frustration with difficult content. When comprehension does break down, as it inevitably will, with challenging material, we'll practice strategic recovery techniques. Rather than giving up or rewinding immediately, use context clues from before and after the difficult section, analyze the speaker's tone for emotional cues, and consider the overall purpose of the communication. Often you can repair comprehension gaps without needing perfect word-by-word understanding. By the end of today, you should feel equipped with a versatile toolkit of active listening strategies. You'll likely notice yourself becoming more deliberate in how you approach challenging listening situations, selecting specific techniques based on the content type and your listening purpose. This strategic approach transforms listening from a passive, sometimes frustrating experience into an active skill that you control and continuously refine. Tomorrow, we'll push these strategies further as we tackle the final frontier of listening challenges: rapid speech and complex language. Day 9. Speed and complexity. Few aspects of English listening create more anxiety than rapid speech. When words seem to blur together in an indecipherable stream, even advanced learners can feel like beginners again. Today, we confront this challenge head-on, developing specific techniques to comprehend fast speech while also tackling the complexity of sophisticated vocabulary and grammatical structures. This combination of speed and complexity represents the ultimate test of your listening abilities. The perception of speed in language is fascinating. Research shows that native speakers don't actually process every sound they hear. Instead, they recognize familiar patterns and predict likely continuations, allowing them to comprehend speech even when parts are obscured by background noise or rapid delivery. Today we'll begin developing this pattern recognition ability that makes native-like listening possible. One powerful technique for adapting to speed is what linguists call chunking, the ability to perceive groups of words as single units rather than processing each word individually. Just as experienced readers see whole words rather than individual letters, advanced listeners perceive common phrases as single entities. Today's exercises focus on recognizing high-frequency chunks like, "As far as I know, the thing is," or "What I'm trying to say is," as complete units in rapid speech. Technology offers valuable tools for practicing with speed. We'll utilize applications that allow you to gradually increase the playback rate of normal speech, training your ear to process language at incrementally faster speeds, starting at 10% faster than normal and gradually increasing to 50% faster. Creates a progressive challenge that expands your processing capacity without overwhelming it. Remarkably, after practicing with accelerated speech, normal speed will actually seem slow and more comprehensible. Complex vocabulary presents another significant challenge. When listening, you don't have the luxury of pausing to look up unfamiliar words as you might while reading. Today we'll practice inferring word meanings from context, using surrounding information, speaker tone, and your existing knowledge to make educated guesses about unfamiliar terms. This skill reduces the need to understand every word perfectly, allowing comprehension to continue despite vocabulary gaps. Sophisticated grammatical structures like embedded clauses, passive constructions, and conditional statements add another layer of processing challenge. These structures often require you to hold information in working memory while waiting for the sentence to complete. We'll practice visualizing these complex relationships as they unfold, creating mental diagrams of how information connects rather than trying to process each word sequentially. Different speaking styles require different listening approaches. Academic lectures feature dense information with specialized vocabulary. Casual conversations contain more idioms, slang, and incomplete sentences. Professional discussions often use field-specific terminology and complex argumentation. Today, we'll compare these speaking styles side by side, identifying their distinctive characteristics and practicing rapid adaptation between different discourse types. For today's advanced challenge, we'll work with cocktail party listening. Exercises. Content featuring multiple speakers talking simultaneously or with significant background noise. These exercises stretch your selective attention, the ability to focus on specific voices while filtering out competing sounds. This skill proves invaluable in real-world settings like busy restaurants, group discussions, or professional environments with multiple conversations. The emotional aspect of challenging listening situations cannot be overlooked. When faced with rapid or complex speech, many learners experience anxiety that further impairs comprehension. Today, we'll practice mindfulness techniques that help manage this anxiety. Deep breathing, positive self-talk, and focus reset strategies that keep you engaged rather than overwhelmed when listening becomes difficult. By the end of today, you should notice significantly improved resilience when faced with challenging listening situations. The combination of techniques we've practiced, chunking, speed adaptation, context inference, and selective attention, creates a robust foundation for comprehending even the most demanding English speech. While perfect understanding of every rapid conversation isn't realistic, you should feel confident in your ability to extract essential meaning even from fast, complex speech. Tomorrow, on our final day, we'll integrate all these skills into a comprehensive approach that will serve you long after our 10-day revolution concludes. Day 10. The Listening Revolution. Today marks the culmination of our intensive 10-day journey into the art and science of English listening. We've progressed from basic sound recognition to handling rapid, complex speech, from simple dialogues to authentic conversations, from passive reception to active comprehension strategies. Now it's time to weave these separate threads into a cohesive tapestry, an integrated approach to listening that will continue to serve you long after this program ends. This isn't just the conclusion of our training. It's the beginning of your personal listening revolution. The most powerful insight from our journey is that listening comprehension isn't a single skill, but a coordinated system of perceptual abilities, cognitive strategies, and linguistic knowledge. Different listening situations demand different combinations of these components. The art of advanced listening lies in quickly assessing what type of listening a situation requires and flexibly applying the appropriate techniques from your now extensive toolkit. Integrating all our techniques starts with creating your personalized listening practice routine. The ideal routine incorporates 3 essential elements: maintenance, regular practice that sustains your current abilities; stretch, challenging material that expands your capabilities; and enjoyment, content you genuinely find interesting. This balanced approach ensures steady progress while preventing burnout or frustration. For maintenance practice, incorporate 10 to 15 minutes of active listening into your daily routine, perhaps during your commute, exercise, or morning routine. Rotate through the techniques we've learned, sometimes focusing on sound discrimination, sometimes shadowing, sometimes dictation. This varied practice keeps all your listening subskills sharp and prevents the plateau effect that comes from using only one approach. Stretch practice should occur 2 to 3 times weekly, when you have the mental energy for focused attention. Choose content slightly beyond your comfortable comprehension level, where you understand approximately 70% without extreme effort. This comprehensible input plumbs one zone, creates optimal conditions for skill development. Schedule these sessions when you can apply active strategies without distractions. The enjoyment component might be the most important for long-term progress. Find English content that genuinely excites your curiosity or connects with your passions, whether that's football commentary, cooking shows, science podcasts, or celebrity interviews. When content is inherently interesting, you'll willingly engage with it even when comprehension is challenging, creating the perfect conditions for natural skill development. Technology can powerfully support your ongoing listening revolution. Today we'll explore how to create a digital ecosystem that facilitates regular practice. Podcast apps with variable playback speeds, YouTube videos with adjustable subtitles, language learning platforms with level-appropriate content, and speech recognition tools that provide feedback on your pronunciation. All these can be orchestrated into a comprehensive support system for continued improvement. Long-term strategies for listening development differ from the intensive approach we've taken these 10 days. Sustainable progress comes not from occasional marathon sessions, but from consistent engagement with the language. Consider implementing a listening-first policy with new topics, experiencing audio or video content before reading about the subject. This challenges your listening skills while building valuable background knowledge that supports future comprehension. To celebrate your progress and create motivation for continued practice, we'll conduct a comparative assessment using the same material you struggled with on day 1. The difference in your comprehension will likely be dramatic, concrete evidence of how far your listening skills have developed in just 10 days. This tangible progress serves as powerful motivation for maintaining your practice routine. Remember that listening development follows a pattern of stepped progress rather than smooth, continuous improvement. You might experience periods where your abilities seem to plateau, followed by sudden breakthroughs where previously challenging content becomes accessible. These plateaus are actually periods of consolidation where your brain is integrating new patterns. They're a natural and necessary part of the learning process. As we conclude our 10-day listening revolution, take pride in what you've accomplished. You've developed a sophisticated understanding of how English sounds work, mastered techniques for active comprehension, and built practical strategies for ongoing improvement. Your relationship with spoken English has fundamentally changed, from passive struggle to active engagement, from anxiety to confidence, from confusion to comprehension. This transformation represents not just enhanced language skills, but expanded opportunities for connection, learning, and communication in every domain where English plays a role in your life. Conclusion: your transformed listening journey. When we began this journey 10 days ago, listening may have felt like the most challenging aspect of your English learning, a mysterious skill that seemed to progress slowly despite your best efforts. Now, as we reach the conclusion of our intensive training, you stand transformed, equipped with a sophisticated understanding of how listening works and armed with powerful techniques to continue your development. Let's take a moment to reflect on the ground we've covered. We started by building a foundation of sound recognition, training your ear to distinguish the subtle differences that can completely change a word's meaning. We explored the musicality of English through rhythm and intonation patterns, recognizing how stress and pitch create the distinctive flow of the language. We practiced transformative techniques like shadowing and dictation that connect listening with other language skills, creating stronger neural pathways for comprehension. As we progressed, we ventured into the challenges of real-world listening. With its messy authenticity, accents, and natural speed, we leveraged visual support to enhance understanding while gradually building independence. We mastered active listening strategies that put you in control of your comprehension, even with complex content. And finally, we tackled the ultimate challenges of speed and complexity, developing techniques to handle even the most demanding listening situations. The transformation in your listening abilities isn't just about what you can understand. It's about how you approach the listening process itself. Where you once might have felt anxious or frustrated when faced with natural English, you now have the confidence that comes from knowing exactly how to tackle different listening challenges. You've developed a strategic approach that allows you to steadily improve without becoming overwhelmed. This training has undoubtedly highlighted areas where you still have room to grow. Perhaps certain accents remain challenging, or academic vocabulary still creates gaps in your comprehension. Remember that these areas for improvement aren't weaknesses, but opportunities, specific targets for your continued development using the techniques you've now mastered. Your future listening development won't follow a straight line. You'll experience periods of rapid progress, followed by apparent plateaus. During these plateau phases, don't become discouraged. Your brain is consolidating new patterns and preparing for the next breakthrough. Consistent practice, even during these seeming plateaus, lays the groundwork for future leaps in ability. The most powerful outcome of these 10 days isn't just improved comprehension, it's the shift from passive victim of incomprehensible input to active architect of your own understanding. You now recognize that listening comprehension isn't something that happens to you. It's something you do with skill, strategy, and purpose. As you continue your English journey beyond our 10 days together, maintain the curiosity and methodical approach that has characterized our work. Keep exploring new content, new accents, new contexts. Keep applying and refining the techniques we've practiced. Keep celebrating your progress while embracing new challenges. Remember that your transformed listening ability opens doors far beyond language learning itself. It creates opportunities for deeper cultural understanding, more authentic connections with English speakers, richer educational experiences, and broader professional possibilities. Every conversation you now comprehend, every film you enjoy, without subtitles, every lecture you follow with ease, these represent not just linguistic achievements but expanded horizons in your life. The listening revolution we began together continues in your daily practice. Your ear is now trained to recognize the patterns, rhythms, and subtleties of English in ways that will continuously strengthen with use. This isn't the end of your journey. It's the beginning of a new relationship with the English language, one characterized by confidence, comprehension, and connection. Wow, what an incredible journey we've taken together over these past 10 days. I hope you can feel the transformation in your listening skills already taking place. Remember, what we've covered is just the beginning, the foundation for a lifetime of increasingly effortless English comprehension. The techniques and strategies we've explored, from sound recognition to shadowing, from dictation to active listening, are tools that will continue to serve you long after this program. The key now is consistent practice. Even just 15 minutes a day can maintain and build upon the progress you've made. If you've found this approach helpful, please take a moment to like this video and share it with friends who might also benefit from improving their English listening skills. Your support helps our channel reach more learners around the world who struggle with the same challenges you've been working to overcome. Don't forget to subscribe to LMJ English if you haven't already. We have new content every week designed to help you master all aspects of English communication, not just listening but speaking, vocabulary, grammar, and cultural understanding as well. I'd love to hear about your experience with this 10-day listening revolution. What techniques worked best for you? Which days presented the greatest challenges? What breakthroughs did you experience? Drop a comment below and let's continue the conversation. Thank you so much for joining me on this listening journey. Until next time, keep training those ears. The English-speaking world is waiting for you to fully experience all it has to offer. Essential vocabulary. From the listening revolution. Active listening. Noun. The practice of fully concentrating on what is being said rather than passively hearing the speaker's message. Example. Active listening involves both verbal and non-verbal cues to show you're engaged with the speaker. Comprehension. Noun. The ability to understand something. Example. His listening comprehension improved dramatically after practicing. With authentic materials. Dictation. Noun. The action of saying words aloud to be typed, written down, or recorded by someone else. Example. Daily dictation exercises helped her catch subtle sounds she previously missed. Intonation. Noun. The rise and fall of the voice in speaking, especially as this affects the meaning of what is being said. Example. English intonation patterns can completely change a sentence's meaning from a statement to a question. Rhythm. Noun. A strong, regular, repeated pattern of sounds or movements. Example. English has a distinctive rhythm where stressed syllables occur at roughly equal intervals. Shadowing. Noun. A language learning technique where you repeat what you hear immediately after hearing it. Example. Shadowing helps connect your listening and speaking skills simultaneously. Minimal pairs. Noun. Two words that differ in only one sound, such as ship and sheep. Example. Practicing minimal pairs helps train your ear to distinguish similar English sounds. Connected. Speech. Noun. The way words link together, change, or reduce in natural spoken language. Example. In connected speech, going to often sounds like gonna. Accent. Noun. A distinctive way of pronouncing a language, especially one associated with a particular country, area, or social class. Example. British, American, and Australian. Accents have different rhythms and sound patterns. Ear training. Noun. The process of developing listening skills to identify pitches, intervals, melody, chords, rhythms, and other basic elements of music or language. Example. Ear training is essential for language learners to recognize the sounds of their target language. Authentic materials, noun. Real-life texts, videos, or audio not specifically created for language teaching purposes. Example, podcasts. And YouTube videos are excellent authentic materials for listening practice. Colloquialism, noun. A word or phrase that is not formal or literary, typically one used in ordinary or familiar conversation. Example, understanding colloquialisms is essential for comprehending casual conversations. Prosody, noun. The patterns of stress and intonation in a language. Example, English prosody carries significant meaning beyond the words themselves. Metacognition, noun. Awareness and understanding of one's own thought processes. Example, metacognition during listening helps you monitor your comprehension and apply appropriate strategies. Scaffold, verb. To support the development of a skill by providing temporary assistance. Example, using subtitles can scaffold your listening comprehension while you develop more advanced skills. Progressive adjective, happening or developing gradually or in stages. Example, progressive listening practice starts with simple content and gradually increases in difficulty. Inference, noun. A conclusion reached on the basis of evidence and reasoning. Example, context helps you make inferences about unknown words. When listening, cognate, noun. A word that has the same linguistic derivation as another, from the same original word or root. Example, recognizing cognates between your native language and English can support listening comprehension. Paralinguistic, adjective, relating to or denoting vocal features that accompany speech and contribute to communication but are not part of the language system. Example, paralinguistic features like tone of voice and speed provide important context for understanding. Neuroplasticity, noun. The ability of the brain to form and reorganize synaptic connections, especially in response to learning or experience. Example, consistent listening practice takes advantage of neuroplasticity to create stronger processing pathways in your brain.